everyone, I'm Poopikat, an illustrator who enjoys drawing children's illustrations and everything magical and in between. Last month, ARRTX reached out to me about trying their pencil crayons, and as I recently moved and didn't have any of the ones that I usually work with, I accepted. So, first off, the package didn't come damaged at all, which is a plus for me, especially when it comes to pencil crayons, as they can break quite easily. It was well packed, and the actual box the crayons came in was quite sturdy from the exterior, and looks super cute as well, which is kind of a huge reason why I said yes, because I love green and the box is green. So, when you open the box, you see that two parts of it come undone. I'm going to be honest, this wasn't my favorite thing about these pencils. Since the two parts can easily come out of the bottom, this means that it could potentially make the pencils fall out more easily. Additionally, the cushion part where the pencils come in is a bit unstable, I'll be honest, especially when you start taking some of the pencils out. The holes become uneven and much bigger when there are fewer pencils, and then that means they kind of fall into one another. So let's start by testing some of these pencils and see how they work. I was super excited to try out a few of them to see how pigmented they were. And pigmentation is extremely important to me because I love to work with saturated and heavy colors. I don't really own any pencils that don't give good pigmentation. I mean, I do have some for certain things, but usually I don't have much of these. So this was my first big test for the ARRTX pencils. So here I am swatching some of my favorite green varieties. From a first glance, they feel super soft and are quite pigmented in color, which is something that I was super happy about. Some of the brands of pencils look quite light or don't have much pigmentation or don't go very dark. So these ones are definitely passing that test. So there's 126 colors, and that's a lot. So they have a great variety of beautiful and vibrant colors that makes me super happy. So definitely a good choice. When swatching, I did notice that a few colors are different in color from the pencil itself. While this isn't uncommon with pencil brands, it is something that I'd like to note. That's something that I find you have to watch out for with these pencils. They have lovely pigments and lots of colors, but some don't actually match the body counterparts. The third test that I did is the most important one, and this is what I had to do before moving on to an actual drawing. This test is figuring out how they layer and blend together. Swatching is great and all, but every pencil should be tested with layering. I started testing that on my sketchbook paper, which is kind of toothy, but not that much. So they're kind of in between cold press and hot press paper, I guess. They blend quite well together, but I did find that some of the lighter colors were a bit harder to blend with the mid or darker tones. The dark colors do have a lot to give and lots of power, but you need to take much longer with the lighter ones to achieve the desired result. It's not impossible, but you can. I will say that some papers will make this easier though. I find that cold press papers generally give me more variety in terms of blending than hot press papers. I love layering a million pencils together, so I generally prefer textured paper, as the paper texture grabs the layering of the pencil a lot better than the less textured paper. So I have more leeway with that. So let's create an actual artwork. I'm quite impatient, so I wanted to just go full in and test these lovely pencils in a drawing. And I haven't done traditional media in quite some time now because of the move. So for the fall, I had the idea of doing some more magical woodland pieces with a lot more earthy tones, because that's something that I find I have trouble with. I typically go for much more saturated colors, and so that was a little bit of a goal of mine to stay a little bit more on the earthy tone side. So I went for a hike and started reference photos and videos. After getting back home, it was time to start sketching. I was quite nervous to go straight into the drawing, but here it goes. I sketched out a general composition and took desaturated light pencils and started creating a base. I like color mapping this way because it helps me figure out which darker colors I want to layer on later. Usually I like to do color mapping with watercolors or markers as a base, but I really just wanted to test these pencils out to the best of my ability without using any other mixed media. So anyway, I prefer starting from light to dark and layer multiple colors and applying more and more pressure each time, which you'll see throughout this video. This is why pigmented brands work best for me, as well as heavier textured paper. When you apply too many pencil crayons together with a lot of pressure, you'll start to get that waxy coat. Some pencils will not blend well, or you won't be able to go further when that happens. So you'll get a little bit more of that. You're just going to be pushing colors around. It'll feel a bit gray, and you won't really be able to add much detail in that because it's too soft. So I find that the toothier the paper is, the more you can kind of build onto that because of the little holes, I guess, in the paper. And these pencils generally are really pigmented, so that's working really well with that. And the layering, I will say, is doing what it's supposed to do, which is something that I was really kind of afraid of when I was testing them out at first. So this paper that I'm using now is a little bit toothier and they're grabbing really well. Anyway, with toothy paper, it's really hard to draw details sometimes, which is why sharpening your pencils is key to getting into those little texture holes. Sharpening these pencils is similar to other brands I would say that I've used. They are soft core but sharpened quite well. I have had a bit of breakage here and there throughout this drawing, but for the most part they are quite resilient to the breakage. Throughout this whole drawing, I think I've had about 2 pencils give me a little bit of breakage, maybe 3, but that's all. So I think that was quite lovely. Some sharpeners will break your pencils a lot easier than others, so make sure you have a good sharpener for any pencil, really. So to wrap up this video, I just want to finish by saying that I was quite pleased with the end results of my drawing and also the process of drawing this piece. So I was a little bit wary at the beginning of how things were going to turn out and layer together as I got darker and darker, but to my surprise, actually, they pulled out. So these pencils were still quite pigmented and they layered quite nicely on top of another. Yes, there's some colors that may have not layered as well as others, but I do find that there's some pencils in each brand that I've used that kind of do that for some reason. So just a little note on that. But other than that, the process was quite enjoyable and I loved learning about how these pencils work and how pigmented and soft they looked, and added quite a beautiful texture to my textured paper already. So it was a really good trial run with these pencils, I think. You let me know what you think of the drawing. That will be on you to decide. But if you are an artist or you want to start being a creative and you want to get into pencil crayons, I definitely think that these are really, really great starter pencils for you to try and enjoy. They're definitely better than a lot of pencils I've worked with, which is a great thing. And the best part about them is that they're actually not that expensive. So they're a great bang for your buck, and I'm not just trying to sugarcoat these pencils because I was asked to do a video. I'm someone who always looks at videos and tries to look at a lot of reviews that are authentic, and I'm truly being honest. For me and myself and how I work, they were very enjoyable, and for the price, I think were lovely. So I definitely recommend them, and if you are interested, you can check the links out in my bio. There's the official link as well as the other links that you can check out depending on where you are. And if you end up trying them, let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on them. I personally love drawing with them, and it works really well with how I work. So yeah, I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts, and if you enjoy my art, and only if you do, subscribe for more content. I am planning on doing more and more YouTube videos this year, so I'd love to see you in the next one. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'm Poopikat, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!